Welcome to www.happynumbers.org. Today's lesson is on writing algebraic expressions. You know, in normal mathematics, regular mathematics, we use numbers like 4 divided by 3 plus 6 minus 4. Well, in algebra we use numbers and then we use letters also that represent numbers, but we don't really know what the numbers are. So like in algebra, we might say a plus 7 divided by 6, where the a represents a number, which we will learn how to solve for and how to figure that out. But for now, keep in mind that algebra can use any letters, so w times 7, or z plus 4. Expressions like that. So we're going to learn how to write expressions like that. But what I would like to do is I'd like to focus in on, let me start the timer, I'm sorry. There are different words that mean addition, and different words that mean subtraction, and different words that mean multiplication, and different words that mean division. And so I think it might be a good idea if you have a notebook or a piece of paper, you might want to take some notes and write them down. Well, let's start with the words that mean addition. Obviously, add means addition. Add 6 and 7, well, you would put 6 plus 7. Okay, that's very simple. So add means addition. Total, the total of. The total of 6 and 7 would be 6 plus 7. The sum of. The sum of means to add. The sum of 6 and 7 would be 6 plus 7. Increased by. Six increased by 7. Another way of saying addition. More than. Seven more than 6. 6 and then 7 more. It's another way. Plus obviously is 1. 6 plus 7. These are all different ways of saying addition. I'm just going to take this out so we have some room for our subtraction words. And of course there are a bunch of ways of saying subtraction, or words that mean subtraction. Subtract, minus, 12 minus 4. Subtract 4 from 12, so you would put 12 and you would subtract 4 from it. Take away. Take away 12, take away 4. Decreased by. $12 decreased by 4. Less than. That means take away also, or subtraction. So let me just make room for some multiplication words. I'll slide this over a little bit. Now, first of all, in algebra, multiplication, we do not write this in algebra because we use x as a letter a lot of times in algebra. So it would be very confusing to use the multiplication sign like that. So in algebra, if we're working with numbers, there are two ways. We can have 2 times 2, we know that means times, or 2 times 2. That's if we're just working with numbers. Now, if we're working with numbers and variables or letters, we could have 2 times y, that would be multiplication, or 2 times y, that means multiplication. But also, if we're working with numbers and letters, that means multiplication. This means 2 times y. And if I had this expression, this would be 2 times y times 3 times w. So you have numbers and letters in algebra, and if they're right next to each other, that means multiplication. It's a very important concept. Okay, so let's take a look at some words that mean multiplication. Well, obviously multiply by and times. And here's one that's not so well known, but it may appear on tests, on like your high school exit exam. The product of. The product of 5 and 7 means 5 times 7, and the product is the answer to a multiplication problem. So the product of 5 and 7 is 35. So if you ever have taken a test and they ask for the product of two numbers, that means you multiply them. Okay, now let's take a look at some words for division. Let me move this over here. Well, one is divided by, over, 12 over 4 means 12 divided by 4. And here's an unusual one, the quotient. Q-U, that's supposed to be O-T-I-E-N-T, the quotient. The quotient is an answer to a division problem. The quotient of 10 and 5 means 10 divided by 5. The quotient is 2. Okay, so these are all words, different ways of expressing addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. And in the rest of this lesson and the next lesson, we're going to practice translating written phrases into words. Like, we might have x plus 7. Now this is a phrase. The expression would be x plus 7. So we would take the expression that has words in it, as well as letters and numbers, and put it into an algebraic expression. So that's going to be the skill that we're going to be looking at. So we might have 4 times w. And we want to write that in an algebraic expression. Well, there are a couple of ways. There are 3 ways we can do it. We can put 4 times w, or 4 times w. But the most common way when you're working with numbers and letters is just 4w, like that. Well, good. So that's the skill for today in this lesson. Realizing that there are different ways of saying addition, different ways of saying subtraction, different ways of saying multiplication, and keep this one in mind. This is an unusual one. The product of, that's the answer to a multiplication problem. And different ways of saying division, and keep the quotient. The quotient of is the answer to a division problem. Keep that in mind because those are 2 unusual ones. Well, that's it for this lesson. Thank you very much. In the next lesson, we'll actually do some practice with this skill. See you later.